Tony, 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 Tony. Oh my god, hey, welcome back to my theatre-themed YouTube channel. Hello to you if you're listening on podcast platforms. If this goes on podcast platforms, who knows?
It probably will, I don't know how quickly.
No, we're in New York currently. My name is Mickey Jo, if you're meeting me for the first time. He warned me moments before we started filming that was going to happen. Bless you, Aaron James. This is Aaron James, everybody.
Hello.
My stagey fiancé, fellow theatrical enthusiast. We are both pseudo-professionals, or me at least, working in the West End.
Work in the industry.
Theatre industry, yes, you're a legitimate professional. And we are both obsessed with all things theatre, which is why we are making this particular broadcast ahead of the Tony Awards. Which number Tony Awards? It's on the back of my hat.
78th.
The 78th Annual Tony Awards, aka the 2025 Tony Awards, which, if you don't know, is an annual celebration celebrating the best, the most acclaimed, or some of the best of the last year of Broadway theatre in New York, the 2024 to 2025 season. This year's nominated shows include the likes of Maybe Happy Ending and Dead Outlaw and Operation Mincemeat.
Buena Vista Social Club.
Those are the new musicals. We also have, in musical revivals, Gypsy and Sunset Boulevard. Those are the two sort of heavyweights alongside Floyd Collins' Pirates, the Penzance musical.
In plays you have Oh Mary and John Proctor is a villain and Purpose.
Yeah, in play revivals, Romeo and Juliet, Our Town, Eureka Day, Yellowface, many brilliant productions from many brilliant creatives, writers, theatre makers, performers. Today we are going to be predicting who we think, what we think is going to win at the Tonys this weekend. The Tonys are taking place on Sunday. It's currently Friday morning. We're making this video a little bit late, but it's because last night we saw Just in Time, which was the last show we felt like we really needed to see to give us a full overview. We've seen almost all of the nominated shows' performances this year.
But we ticked off all the musicals.
Every single musical.
Yeah.
And there's some stuff that we'd seen before in London, for example, Stranger Things and The Picture of Dorian Gray. The only stuff that we're really kind of blank on is like the revival of Our Town, Glengarry Glen Ross, which is nominated for like a single performance award, Good Night and Good Luck, which has a handful of nominations and will be shown on TV tomorrow night on CNN. And I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think of ones that were nominated, that's pretty much it, of the season that we didn't get to see.
So we've never done this well before, which is exciting. Anyway, let us press on. As always, we are intrigued to hear what you think as well. I, in the process of writing down my predictions, lost almost all faith in them, so that's great.
It's difficult as well because this is what we think will win, rather than like our personal feelings. You kind of have to take that aside and think what... From everything we've heard in the industry, everything from recent awards like the Drama League, the Drama Desks, the Outer Critics, where they went. Some shows were last season's ones. You have to look all the way back a year to see how they did. And then kind of put it together and think, what is the climate like? What is the future of these shows? So some of these shows, it's all about what's not commonly known is a lot of the voters are regional because they're from the touring houses where the shows are going to go on tour.
Yeah.
So
they make up a big proportion of the voters. That's something I probably haven't given enough consideration to, but we're just going to dive in. I don't claim to... I like I said, I don't have a lot of confidence in my predictions this year. I've just shared my thoughts. It could really go one way or another in a lot of these categories, but we're just going to dive in. So let's predict the Tonys, everybody. Okay, starting with the shows then. Aaron, talk us through the nominees for Best New Musical.
So, the nominees for Best New Musical are Buena Vista Social Club, Dead Outlaw, Death Becomes Her, Maybe Happy Ending, and Operation Mincemeat.
And I'm setting a 1-minute timer for us to discuss. We will both say which show we are predicting to win this category on 3, 2, 1. Maybe Happy Ending. And I'm thrilled that we're here, that we feel like Maybe Happy Ending is a solid frontrunner, because this is a show that nearly didn't open. Tell us a little bit more, Aaron, about why you think Maybe Happy Ending is going to win the Tony.
Because there was a big clue that it was likely to win. One, it's won so many awards already. It's been
doing really well.
Loads of awards at the Drama Desks, which is a very good sign. Mm-hmm. If it won the Best New Musical, that's like a very good indicator that it is likely to win. But also, the biggest concern people had of Maybe Happy Ending winning was they didn't know if it could tour.
And it's announced a tour.
So now that means the regional voters have an invested interest in Maybe Happy Ending winning, because for the tour, they can say it is the Tony winning Best New Musical of the year.
Yeah.
So that's why.
I think it has such broad appeal. I think everybody loves it, and I've got 5 seconds left, and that's all that I need to say. And I will be thrilled. It should win. I think it will win. Yay for Maybe Happy Ending. Yay for us.
Yay.
Yay for Hua Boon. Moving on, let me tell you about the nominees for Best New Play. They are English, The Hills of California, John Proctor is the villain, Oh Mary, and Purpose. And so we will say who we think is going to win on 3, 2, 1. Oh Mary. Agreeing again on Oh Mary. So this is such a runaway Broadway hit this year. It transferred from off-Broadway and it's gained so much momentum. It was a Pulitzer finalist. Yeah, Purpose by Brandon Jacobs Jenkins won the Pulitzer.
English is a previous Pulitzer winner.
But I think Oh Mary has that commercial appeal. It's been such a surprising and delightful success from Calder Scola. What do you think?
I think that it's one of those where I can't see it winning just one award.
Oh, yeah.
And by that extension, I feel like the most likely one, after one that I'm a lock on, would be this. I think it's just been such a success. I think there's a future life for it, and I just see it going that way.
Would you vote Oh Mary if you were a voter?
I'd probably go for John Proctor as the villain.
I would also go for John Proctor as the villain, but I think, and I wouldn't be disappointed, but I think if I'm going to have a mini heartbreak, it might be that one. Tell us who then is nominated for Best Musical Revival.
So for Best Musical Revival, it is between Floyd Collins, Gypsy, Pirates for Penzance Musical, and Sunset Boulevard.
Okay, who do we think is going to win this category? 3, 2, 1. Sunset Boulevard. Lovely, very nice. I think so too. I think we've seen variations on how loved Sunset Boulevard is. It can be divisive.
Yeah.
It was not well liked by the drama desks, either in nominations or in wins. But there's something to be said for the fact that Jamie Lloyd is nominated for Best Director at the Tonys and George C. Wolfe isn't. And if the director of the revival is not nominated, it
feels like it leans one way already.
It seems unlikely. Yeah, touring is not really a factor here because we don't expect... I mean, so few revivals tour.
And no revivals announced that it's touring, so there's nothing that has that inclination.
Yeah.
And like, Sunset just announced a 1-week extension. It just feels quite... I feel like that show was so kind of... It did everything. It changed what the musical was. It did that revival, new look like we saw with Merrily We Roll Along. It fits that bill of what is the best musical revival.
I think there's going to be more love for Sunset than some people anticipate. I'm willing to stick my neck out a little bit there. It is very well liked by some within the industry, and it's already time for us to move on and talk about Best Play Revival, in which the nominees are Eureka Day, Thornton Wilder's Our Town, Romeo and Juliet, and Yellowface. Who do we think is going to win this? 3, 2, 1.
Eureka
Day. Sorry, I forgot the words that I was going to say, but I had written down...
I was nervous when I was like...
I had written down Eureka Day.
I was like, oh, is that our first clash?
This is, of the 4 categories that we've talked through so far, the one I have the least confidence in.
This is an interesting one because Eureka Day is an outlier to all the others where it's never been on Broadway before.
Yeah.
So in the UK, that would be new play, but because it's part of a classics ruling, it is in revival.
Yeah.
But I think it was just such a moment when it was on. Everybody was talking about Eureka Day. Everybody was trying to get tickets to see it. I think it landed really strongly.
It is a peculiarity, though, because, it's there by virtue of the classics rule. And so technically it's a new production of the play, but the play itself is not that old.
No.
And so what feels like development, and also a lot of the boxes that it ticks in terms of its brilliance feel like attributes of a new play, the way that it responds to conversation, and it's not in terms of how it's reapproaching the text.
But we know that the Tonys like that because we saw plays like Appropriate get the award for that exact reason.
That's very true, and it's time for us to move on. We are next going to talk about the key leading creatives, the directors, the choreographers, the writers, the orchestrators. Aaron James, who are the nominees for Best Director of a Musical?
So we have Saheem Ali for Buena Vista Social Club, Michael Arden for Maybe Happy Ending, David Cromer for Dead Outlaw, Christopher Gattelli for Death Becomes Her, and Jamie Lloyd for Sunset Boulevard.
Okay, giving the name of the show on 3, who do we think is going to win this category? 1, 2, 3. Jamie Lloyd.
Happy ending.
I didn't even give the
No,
name of
you
the show.
didn't.
I'm so stressed by this. I think Sunset Boulevard maybe takes this, but did I even write that down? 1 minute to the next, I changed my mind about this.
My thing here is, I think should win is Jamie Lloyd. I think will win might be Michael Arden.
I wrote down Michael Arden, and
Because I think maybe Happy Ending's going to do... I genuinely think it's going to do a sweep. Mm-hmm. I think it's a rare musical compared to last season, where I think all the elements... I think it's a package deal, rather than last year where it felt like it was separated apart.
I think you're right. I think Michael Arden is going to win.
I think we saw it at the drama desks. Maybe Happy Ending swept everything.
It's just the only thing in my mind is that you really feel the influence and the decisions of Jamie Lloyd in Sunset Boulevard, more so than I think in any other musical production.
I agree. I wonder whether this love of Jamie Lloyd, if it's enough for everybody to vote for him, because also everybody loves Michael Arden and he's a past Tony winner.
That's true. Did he win 2 recently? Is that going against him?
Who knows?
I don't know. Let's talk about the nominees for Best Director of a Play. Something that we said is perhaps one of the hardest categories this year, because there are so many great plays, and, you know, which do you attribute to the greatness of the writers, to the directors? Here are the nominees. So, these are Knud Adams for English, Sam Mendes for The Hills of California, Sam Pinkleton for Oh Mary, Danya Tamor for John Proctor as the Villain, and Kip Williams for The Picture of Dorian Gray. Let me see what I actually wrote down this time. Okay, giving the name of the show on 3. 1, 2, 3.
John Proctor
Mary.
is the villain.
You're going with Danya Tamor.
I think they're going to split it.
She won the drama desk.
I think play will go to O'Mary, director will go for Danya Tamor for John Proctor, and that's how they honour John Proctor.
Here's my wild thing. I don't even know if Danya is the runner-up in my mind.
Interesting.
Not that she shouldn't be, but I think, again, when you're talking about direction, you can really see Kip Williams for The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Do you know my thing? Last year, Danya Tamor beat Maria Friedman for Merrily We Roll Along, and I'm like, if she has that much behind her to have beat Maria when we knew how loved that revival was, I think she has the exact same going for her with John Proctor.
Interesting. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is among the Oh Mary love, and we just see a lot of Oh Mary in the same way we see a lot of maybe Happy Ending. There's a sweepy mentality that could take us in a purple and yellow direction for those two shows, and I wouldn't be mad at it.
I wouldn't be mad about that happening. It's a great play.
Yeah. Let's talk next then about choreographers. Best Theatre Choreographer. Who are the nominees?
The nominees are Joshua Begas for Smash, Camille A. Brown for Gypsy, Christopher Gattelli for Death Becomes Her, Jerry Mitchell for Boop, and Patricia Delgado and Justin Peck for Buena Vista Social Club.
I still don't even know where I'm going with this one.
I'm split. I'm quite split in the middle on this one.
Okay, let's just say it. With the name of the show. 3, 2, 1. Boop.
Jerry Mitchell for Boop.
Yeah. I so nearly could have gone Buena Vista.
That's my split. So last year, Justin Peck. Oh, okay. Last year, Justin Peck won for Illinois.
Yeah.
So it's a case of, would he win 2 years in a row? But I think the choreography is sublime, and that's where I'd vote. But I think Jerry Mitchell, with the start of Act 2, that number has been one of the most talked about segments of the show, and that's choreography. Mm-hmm. And I think that, and he just won the drama desk for the choreography. And there is a lot of love for Jerry Mitchell across the Broadway community.
There is. He's won for choreography multiple times before.
A lot of people have been saying it's like Jerry Mitchell at his best, and I feel like that sweep can feel quite...
It's choreography that stands out. It's choreography that people are talking about. It's, a bone thrown to a show that needs a little bit of support.
Yeah, and it's a legendary... It's like adding to a legendary choreographer's docket.
Yeah. Let's talk then about some writing. Let me tell you who are the nominees for Best Original Score, Music and/or Lyrics written for the theatre. So the nominated shows are Dead Outlaw, with a score from Eric De La Pena and David Yazbek. Death Becomes Her from Noel Carey and Julia Mattison. Maybe Happy Ending from Will Aronson and Hugh Park. Operation Mincemeat from David Cumming, Felix Hagen, Natasha Hodgson, and Zoe Roberts. And Real Women Have Curves from Joy Huerta and Benjamin Velez. Are we ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1. Maybe Happy Ending. I think this is, yeah, definitely.
I think they're sweeping.
Uh-huh.
I think...
But even if they're not sweeping, I think they still, this is one of their more established.
Yeah. I think score feels extremely strongly with them.
I think new musical and score might be the two I think they're more definitely going to get.
Yeah. I always think it's weird. Last year was really weird where the new musical winner was not in score or book. Mm-hmm. And that's not common. Mm-hmm. It's normally at least one of the two, because if you're saying something's the best new musical, you're normally saying the writing is the best.
It's got to have the material to back that up.
So I kind of feel like if we're betting maybe Happy Ending is the winner, it has to win either book or score.
Yeah, I think Dead Outlaw could maybe give it a run for its money. It's a very different flavour.
Yeah.
I mean, all the scores this year are very different in terms of their sort of subgenre and the style and the influences.
I think with maybe Happy Ending as well, it's interesting that they've got the narrative of it being written in 2 languages.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that process, they've done a lot on that. So I can see that winning people over.
Yeah. Can you talk us through the nominees for Best Book of a Musical, please?
Sure. So the nominees are Will Aronson and Hugh Park for Maybe Happy Ending, David Cumming, Felix Hagen, Natasha Hodgson, and Zoe Roberts for Operation Mincemeat, Itamar Moses for Dead Outlaw, Margot Panette for Death Becomes Her, and Marco Ramirez for Buena Vista Social Club.
This is another one. Ask me a different hour of the day, I could go in one of 5 directions.
This one's one of those where it's like where my heart would go and where I think I've landed now. Mm-hmm. I especially have seen the shows and seeing like how different their books are, and actually it's a really strong year for book.
It really is.
Book normally is an easier category to talk about. This year, there are a lot of good books.
Yeah. Yeah. I still don't feel confident in what I'm about to say, but which show do you think is taking Best Book on 1, 2, 3?
Maybe Happy Ending.
You still think Maybe Happy Ending?
I think they're going to get all 3. I think looking at last year in Surfs, this feels just very similar to me, where I think there's so much love for the musical and it's for all the elements, and I think book and score are equally strong. So I just see it going to Maybe Happy Ending for me.
I think Death Becomes Her is not to be underestimated. A lot of those similar genre type shows, the Beetlejuice, Addams Family, haven't had the same critical love that Death Becomes Her has had. Yeah. It's right up there. It is jointly leading in nominations. It is not to be ruled out. And I think if they're going to split them, Maybe Happy Ending could take score, Death Becomes Her could take book. And I think those are the strongest elements of each show. But then, like, if Dead Outlaw ended up on that stage for book, I wouldn't be shocked. If Mincemeat did, I'd be delighted, obviously. So it is a really difficult year. I mean, it's a great year because so much strong material, but it makes our jobs hard.
I wouldn't feel like it was leaning one way until the tour announcement for Maybe Happy Ending, and I think just the drama desks and them getting everything just has really made me lean one way, because Suff's won in the drama desk and then won at the Tony, so there's a link.
We are now going to talk about Best Orchestrations. So the nominees here are Will Aronson for Maybe Happy Ending, Bruce Coughlin for Floyd Collins, David Cullen and Andrew Lloyd Webber, I've heard of him, for Sunset Boulevard, Marco Paglia for Buena Vista Social Club, and Andrew Resnick and Michael Thurber for Just in Time. I'm going to give it one more moment of thought. I'm going to check in with what I wrote down moments ago. Okay.
Ready?
3, 2, 1.
Buena
Maybe
Vista
Happy
Social
Ending.
Club.
You've gone Buena Vista here.
I love Maybe Happy Ending. That's my favourite. That is my favourite orchestrations. So
I think we've swapped from the last video when we talked about this.
My heart is with them, but my brain is saying the band got a special Tony.
And I think the band getting a special Tony sort of already ticks that off in a way.
Oh no, maybe I've changed back to Maybe Happy Ending and I just want to go with my heart.
Buena Vista should. I actually think Buena Vista should. And I think I said this before, but how many shows actually talk about their orchestrations in that flute moment?
Those are my 2 shows. Sunset Boulevard's orchestrations shouldn't be like viewed out. If Sunset does have a lot of love on the night, it probably will go to them.
Yeah.
But Maybe a Happy Ending is my heart with the orchestrations. They are my favourite.
Yeah. Buena Vista should.
Buena Vista, I'm just like...
I think maybe Happy will.
It's already got a Tony for the music, so will that lead people to say, well, surely the orchestrations? I don't know.
I don't know. So now then, continuing with more creative team recognitions, we're talking about the technical categories, those designers, scenic design, costume design, lighting design, and sound design. 8 categories here, because the Tonys recognise each of these separately, unlike the Olivier Awards.
We're looking at you.
So we're going to be here for a few minutes talking through these. First up, scenic design of a play. The nominees are David Bergman and Marge Horwell for The Picture of Dorian Gray, Miriam Buther and 59 Productions for Stranger Things The First Shadow, Marcia Ginsburg for English, Rob Howell for The Hills of California, and Scott Pask for Good Night and Good Luck. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Stranger Things The First Shadow. Yeah.
It's massive.
It's very rare for a play to have that kind of a set.
And also, Stranger Things got the special Tony.
There you go. Yeah, they did.
For the projection element, I believe, for the video. So it's already got a leaning towards it. But also, I think with the play categories, we have to look at the Oliviers. And Stranger Things won for set.
It did very well.
So it already has that acclaim. It's already kind of pushed through it's Stranger Things on Broadway. It's like, but it's Olivier award-winning Stranger Things set.
It has some prestige arriving with it, you are correct. And it's, like I said, it's very few plays have that kind of scale and that kind of audacity in their sets. I just think it's doing so much more than almost any of the other nominees in this category.
And Netflix know how to petition.
They do. There you go. Okay, well, moving on, let's talk about Best Scenic Design of a Musical. Aaron James, who are this category's nominees?
They are Rachel Huck for Swept Away, Dane Loughrey and George Reeve for Maybe Happy Ending, Arnulfo Maldonado for Buena Vista Social Club, Derek McLean for Death Becomes Her, and Derek McLean for Just in Time.
This is another one I really struggled to choose.
There's a splitting question in this one that throws me.
I think I'm going to pivot from what I wrote down even 10 minutes ago. Some of these are so close, ask me, the wind will change direction and I'll suddenly feel differently, but I'm ready to say a show.
I'm ready to say a show.
3, 2, 1, maybe happy ending. So what had I written down?
Had you written down Death Becomes Her?
I had.
I just think that, I would see those two creatives, two of the creative categories going to Death Becomes Her, but I think he's so, Death Becomes Her and Just in Time are equally really strong set designs. Yeah,
but lovely ruched curtain.
But I think they would split.
Interesting.
And I think maybe Happy Ending set does certain moments that I think people will talk about, like the Fireflies.
It's striking, it's memorable, it's completely different.
Yeah, it relies a lot on that set design and the intricacies.
Did Company win set design? Because that's the really comparable one when the revival was happening. I think it might have.
I think it might have.
Yeah.
Let us know down below if we are wrong.
I think there's going to be a lot of maybe happy ending love.
Yeah. I think we could see one of the strongest ones for it.
Yeah, we could see a similar book score, Death Becomes Her, Maybe Happy split here, but we'll get onto that category in just a moment. Before we do, let's run up to it with Best Costume Design of a Play, in which the nominees are Brenda Abadandondolo for Good Night and Good Luck, Marge Horwell for The Picture of Dorian Gray, Rob Howell for The Hills of California, Holly Pearson for Oh Mary, and Brigitte Reifenstuhl for Stranger Things The First Shadow. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Stranger Things.
Oh no, The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Oh, wait, hold on. No, I wrote that down as well. I also wrote it down. I take it back. I did write down Picture of Dorian Gray. Marge Horwell won the Olivier.
Won the Olivier for it. The costume designs are big. Yeah. And I think sometimes with a play design, the big one will win.
I got myself carried away thinking about Stranger Things and possible dominance of the technical categories, but I do think this one is going Dorian Gray.
With how dark and screen and non-colourful the set is, all the costumes that Sarah wears are so the focus of everything.
And they're gorgeous.
And they are gorgeous.
And the androgyny of them and the classic elements of them.
And it won the Olivier.
Yeah, and it would be great to hear an Australian creative
Yeah.
giving a speech at the Tony Awards because we often hear a lot of British voices. We don't hear a lot of Australian theatre makers. We don't see a lot of original Australian theatre getting this kind of international acclaim and transfer.
It's a big moment for Australia.
Yeah, good for you, Australia. I hope it's a good day for all of you. That was a terrible joke. Let's carry on with Best Costume Design of a Musical. Aaron James is going to tell us the nominees.
So we have Didi Aite for Buena Vista Social Club, Greg Barnes for Boop for Musical, Clint Ramos for Maybe Happy Ending, Paul Taswell for Death Becomes Her, and Catherine Zuber for Just in Time.
I don't need to think about this one. I know where I'm going. This is one of the easier categories, I think, to predict of the whole Tonys.
But I think scarily would be the one with the biggest upset if it didn't go that way.
That would be an upset. Let's just say it. 1, 2, 3. Death Becomes Her.
Death Becomes Her. I was just going to say Paul Taswell.
Paul Taswell. And man of the moment, Paul Taswell.
Won the Academy Award recently for Wicked.
Yeah, that was his first Academy Award win. He's won the Tony multiple times.
Yeah.
He's been attached to some visually iconic productions.
And the reason why it would be really shocking if he didn't win is because of the setup of this year's Tony Awards. Because you've got Cynthia hosting, who wore his costumes in the 2 films. We're in between the 2 Wicked films. It's all about Wicked.
Trailers just come out.
And then Hamilton are performing for their anniversary performance and likely will be wearing his costume designs that won the Tony Award.
Yeah, I think Paul Taswell is the winner of the Tony Awards in general this year. He's like, all of this,
exactly.
I did this.
This should be a big celebration of Paul Taswell. So I'm like, surely he's going to win. And
to talk briefly about the costumes for Death Becomes Her.
Stunning.
They're stunning, but the cleverness of them, the wit of them with those like shifted neckline and the epicenter of jeweling. And
also being able to design those costumes for non-binary performers as well as cisgender performers.
The sexy, non-gendered, like individual ensemble costuming. Yeah, it's all great.
In this kind of year, we need to celebrate costume designers that are also thinking about the performers that are performing on the stage.
We do.
Conscientious.
And we also need to talk about lighting design of a play. That's our next category. So the nominees are David Bengali and Heather Gilbert for Good Night and Good Luck, Natasha Chivers for The Hills of California, John Clark for Stranger Things The First Shadow, Natasha Katz and Hannah Wasilewski for John Proctor as the Villain, and Nick Schlieper for The Picture of Dorian Gray. Are you ready?
Yes.
I've composed myself. I've remembered what it is I actually think here.
I remember what I actually think, and then I suddenly had a thought, which I'll add.
Okay. I can't wait to hear it, but here is our prediction. 1, 2, 3. Stranger Things, The First Shadow. I think this is going to be another one that goes Stranger Things way.
It's big. Like, lighting design's as important in this as everything
There's just
else.
a great deal more lighting design in this than in a lot of the others.
I read somebody said that lighting design at the Tonys is basically what had the most lighting design, and that's how it normally falls. But my little out there one is like Natasha Katz never misses, so like John Proctor as the Villain has a very good
I don't think
use.
she's won on every single nomination.
Maybe true, but
just often.
I think my little outsider would be John Proctor.
Natasha Katz never misses for a musical.
True.
Let's put that little caveat on it. But I wonder, I think if there's going to be, we haven't said Good Night and Good Luck. We haven't seen the production.
No.
We've heard that's really visually interesting.
I think the thing with Stranger Things is it needs to rely so much on lighting, and the lighting's so important because of the effects. Yeah. They need the lights to be able to mask what they're doing.
A lot of fantasy and magic. Yeah, they have a taller order to adhere to, really. Tell us then about the nominees for Best Lighting Design of a Musical.
The nominees are Jack Knowles for Sunset Boulevard, Tyler Michelot for Buena Vista Social Club, Ben Stanton for Maybe Happy Ending, Roy Hongson and Scott Zelensky for Floyd Collins, and Justin Townsend for Death Becomes Her.
This is another tricky one where I don't really know where we're going, but I'm just going to honour what I wrote down when we compiled our thoughts around 10 minutes ago. Here is what I had to say. 3, 2, 1. Sunset Boulevard. Okay. See, I hope so.
If we're talking about the most lighting, Sunset Boulevard on the stage is all because of the lighting.
Yeah, and Death Becomes Her and Maybe Happy have a lot of momentum as shows, and Buena Vista has gorgeous lighting, but Sunset has real memorable lighting moments.
Yeah, it has memorable moments of lighting, and also that is what you're watching. Like, it is a bit like the floor is empty.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's so moving and so powerful is because of that lighting design when it comes in, when it changes colour.
We rewatched it this week. I nearly cried at that moment. It's so strong. I hope that there is enough love for Sunset, because there is in the industry a little bit of anti-Jamie Lloyd around some previous productions, around the whole strip-back aesthetic. And I think it requires a certain amount of buy-in and a certain amount of understanding. And I hope that we did not see that at the drama desks. The drama desks did not buy into this concept of the Sunset Revival, and I hope that the Tonys have. Yeah. We have sound design. Okay, so sound design of a play. Our penultimate technical category. The nominees are Paul Arditi for Stranger Things: The First Shadow, Palmer Hefferon for John Proctor as the Villain, Daniel Kluger for Good Night and Good Luck, Nick Powell for The Hills of California, and Clements Williams for The Picture of Dorian Gray. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Are you ready?
No, I can't remember what I put.
It's again a little bit of a tricky one, and you're like, does it just go in inevitable direction?
Yeah, I know what I put.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Stranger Things: The First Shadow. Yeah.
I think they're going to sweep the creatives.
Did we give them 3 out of 4 technical just then? Did we say costume, Dorian Gray, everything else Stranger Things?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think it just has the most.
It's so different to most other plays.
I also think, like, sound design in a play, you have to have a really striking sound design for it to be a memorable element. Because a lot of plays don't rely so much on score and background music and soundscapes.
And this has those things. It also has singing. It also has like effect noises and all sorts. And it's doing a lot with its sound, and it's creating tension and dramatic storytelling and location.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the elements that they've been petitioning for, because I feel like I could imagine in a Tony campaign they'll have been pushing the creative elements and not the best play element. They've gone for that. So then we'll see the awards lean that way.
Yeah. Fair enough. And then our final technical category, which is Best Sound Design of a Musical. Aaron James, who are the nominees?
Jonathan Deans for Buena Vista Social Club, Adam Fisher for Sunset Boulevard, Peter Helensky for Just in Time, Peter Helensky for Maybe Happy Ending, and and Dan Moses Schreier for Floyd Collins.
Again, lots of great sound design here, lots of great musicals. Reminding myself what I wrote down. Okay. I don't know if I believe myself, but this is what I have said. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Sunset Boulevard.
Again, I hope so.
I love how you can't say it without doing it in the...
Sunset Boulevard.
Are you right on the boo? But I think this is going to get the nomination that we hoped would go to the video team, because Adam Fisher, the ability to make the sound design work, that he can be outside and the sound can be in sync, is enough. I think Adam Fisher will get this award in honour of the walk and the score and how it's all able to happen.
I think the creative elements of Sunset are hard to forget. You become, in that production, it enables you to become aware of the lighting, aware of the sound. You feel the weight of those choices in a way that something like Just in Time, it's just happening. And you're so charmed by it that you're not noticing them as ostensibly.
And this is like, with Sunset, I think, look at the Oliviers, the creatives, they had locks on these elements.
They did.
Lighting and sound in particular were the ones that were very clearly that, and I don't think that's changed over here.
Yeah. Finally then, for some people, these are the most interesting categories. Certainly they are some of the most talked about. It is time to talk about the performances, the leading and featured actors and actresses in plays and musicals. Worth pointing out at this point, the Tony Awards still gendering these categories, while many other awarding bodies such as the Drama Desks and I believe like Outer Critics and Drama League as well.
It's all of them bar the Tonys.
Which they all managed to do successfully and with little debate.
They still honour the same amount of performers.
They do. Anyway, soapbox aside for one moment, let's begin by talking about the best performance by a featured actor in a play. The nominees are Glenn Davis for Purpose, Gabriel Ebert for John Proctor as the Villain, Francis Dew for Yellowface, Bob Odenkirk for Glengarry Glen Ross, and Conrad Ricamora for Oh, Mary. I was surprised how difficult this one was for me to come up with an answer, but I have come up with one.
I have one, and then I have my backup the other person I could see it going to.
Got a little backup. I feel similarly, and I wonder if we feel similarly in the same direction. I bet we do. So, who do you think is going to win? 3, 2, 1. Conrad
Francis Jew.
Ricamora. And your backup is?
Conrad Ricamora.
And mine's Francis Jew. I would be thrilled.
I think
Francis Jew should win.
I think that Francis Jew has the legacy of one with a role, and that's a great thing to bring up. Is he was acclaimed and award winning when he played it the first time.
Yeah.
So then him coming back and playing it again, and he's never had a Tony, so this would be a legacy win.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's an element of that show that's stuck with me ever since.
Very much so. Very much so. I really think he should win. I hope that you're right. I never know how much to buy into the momentum of the big shows and the sweeping of it all. Because I think featured doesn't necessarily go that way, and featured can go to something that's closed.
The pro shot of Yellowface made me think people will have remembered him.
Yeah.
That's what's giving me that little bit of a I think if the pro shot hadn't have happened, I would have thought maybe they'd have forgotten him.
Yeah, I think Conrad deserves for multiple performances, but I do hope that you're correct, yes. Tell us then about the nominees for another very challenging category, Best Performance by a Featured Actress in a Play.
So we have Tala Ash for English, Jessica Hecht for Eureka Day, Marja Neshrat for English, Finn Estraza for John Proctor as a Villain, and Cara Young for Purpose.
One of the hardest categories to call.
Yeah, and I think there's two people I think it's between. And neither of those are the one that I want to win. And that's really hard.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to stick my neck out in a different direction.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Jessica
Tala
Hecht.
Ash. You think Jessica Hecht's going to take
I
it?
want Tala Ash to win it, and I feel like I really hope they've remembered her and that's where they go.
The thing that has spurred me on a little bit here is so many people we know have all independently said, I hope Tala Ash.
Yeah,
I think
that's what I'd hope.
There seems to be a lot of memory for
hope.
that. Yeah.
That's giving me this hope. The Jessica Hecht thing is the same as the Francis thing, but she's never won a Tony.
Has she never won a
She's
Tony?
never won a Tony.
See, if I'd known that, I might have felt differently.
That's my thing, is she's never won a Tony. The Cara Young of it all is, obviously we know this is year 4?
Year 4 of her consecutive nominations, and she won last year on year 3 for Pearly Victorious.
So this is there is so much love for Cara Young that I'm it's this a momentum that's just gonna keep on going, and that nobody can really break that.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, Jessica Hecht's never won a Tony, and I really hope that everybody remembers Tala, because Tala is magical.
I hope so too. Let's talk then about the world of musicals, and from one category that we said was very hard to predict to one that we think is quite easy to predict.
Yay.
Best Performance by a Featured Actor in a Musical. The nominees are Brooks Ashmanskas for Smash, Jeb Brown for Dead Outlaw, Danny Burstein for Gypsy, Jack Malone for Operation Mincemeat, and Taylor Trench for Floyd Collins. 3, 2, 1. Jack Malone. Specifically for Dear Bill, for Operation Mincemeat.
If there's a thing we know about the Tony Awards, is it only takes one singular song.
It's such a moment.
When you look back at Alex Nall in Shucked with Independently Owned, that one song guaranteed them the Tony.
Yeah.
And I feel like with Jack Malone with Dear Bill, that is the same. It was the same in the UK, and it's the same here. It's had the same trajectory. They're selling vinyls of just Dear Bill. It's
such a beautiful, powerful moment. But Jack's whole performance in that show, with all of the Spilsbury stuff, and with Willie Watkins and all of the other characters that he plays, Jack is really emblematic of the rapid character changing nature of the show, and it almost feels like a way of saluting the entire company. It's also a great position to be in when you're a featured role that is quite a big one, because we were watching it the other day on Broadway, and I was thinking there's not much in it for Natasha and Dave to usually go leading, and for Jack to be featured.
I just think it's Jack's. I think the outside chance it would be with Brooks, because everybody loves Brooks. But they both won the Tony. They both won the drama desks.
I can't even think of who of those. The others are all great. I can't think of who the emerging runner-up would be.
My literal only reason is that both of them won the drama desk. That's my only way of saying.
But so did Michael Urie, who wasn't even nominated here. So just goes to show you how much you can use that as a barometer. Tell us then about the nominees for Best Featured Actress in a Musical, Aaron.
So the Featured Actress in a Musical nominees are Natalie Venetia Belcom for Buena Vista Social Club, Julia Nightle for Dead Outlaw, Gracie Lawrence for Just in Time, Justina Machado for Real Women Have Curves, and Joy Woods for Gypsy.
The caveat to this being that this category features one of the few performances we haven't seen because we saw Gypsy, but Joy Woods was out.
Yes.
So we haven't seen Joy Woods' performance in Gypsy. That being said, here is our prediction. 1, 2, 3... Natalie Venetia Belcon. This goes back to the thing that I was just saying about it's great to be a featured performer in a role that almost feels leading. It's a really substantial role. She bows last.
She bows last. She takes the final bow.
Yeah.
She last season did really well at the awards because Buena Vista was the year before.
The off-Broadway, yeah.
So we've already got proof that she's been beloved. She's very well liked in it. This is the category where I don't know if it's been shifting since, and there's part of me that's like, if there's a lot of Gypsy love, could we see both actress and featured actress go one way?
Yeah.
I think if there's a lot of love for Gypsy on the night, both could go one way.
And it could feel like a salute to everything Joy has done, because Joy is this remarkable rising star who, like the Cara Youngs of this world in place, has been working really consistently, going from strong performance to strong performance. The Notebook didn't get a nomination.
My other one is, there's so much love for Real Women Have Curves, and it didn't get the best musical nom. Could everybody have been putting their votes in for Justina as like the salute to that show?
It's possible. We've seen stuff like that happen in the past, but I still think...
But Natalie's like...
I think she's still the front runner.
Yeah. I mean, she literally bows last. Like, that
She
show
does.
is revolved around her.
Okay, so those are all the featured performances. Let's talk about those leads. So let's go over then to Best Leading Actor in a Play to begin with. And the nominees are George Clooney, little-known actor making his debut for Good Night and Good Luck, Cola Scola, writer and star of Oh Mary, John Michael Hill in Purpose, Daniel Day Kim in Yellowface, Harry Lennox in Purpose, and Louis McCartney for Stranger Things, The First Shadow. Are you ready, Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1...
Cola Scola.
I think Cola Scola is going to win.
This is a lock.
You think Cola Scola is going to win. Do you know who else thinks Cola Scola is going to win? Allegedly, George Clooney. So
It's a lock. Like, I feel like if there's any doubt about Oh Mary winning Best Play, there is no doubt about Cola Scola winning Best Actor.
This is Oh Mary's most confident category, I think.
This is kind of one of the big moments of this season has been the rise of Cola Scola as a really exciting creative as well as performer, and like
people have been loving, like on the internet and in like the outer Broadway sphere for years. Finally on Broadway, finally getting recognition, and
this is their moment.
And is the greatest part of Oh Mary, has written themselves such a terrific role and delivers it, like having Love Titus as a replacement in the show, delivers it like no one else can. Is so unique, is so wonderful.
It's going to be a moment. It's going to be a performance that people are going to be talking about for years to come, and so should win the Tony.
And Cole has been involved in every single step of this Broadway season, has been involved in like miscast and doing all these interviews, and like every time there's been like the Hollywood Reporter doing, like Cola Scola has been a fixture of every single part and has been so involved in the community and in the campaign and all of it, and has like left the show at the right time, went back into the show at the right time. It's been perfectly executed. No brainer.
Yeah.
Who then are the nominees for Best Leading Actress in a Play? Aaron.
They are Laura Donnelly for The Hills of California, Mia Farrow for The Roommate, LaTonya Richardson Jackson for Purpose, Sadie Sink for John Proctor is the Villain, and Sarah Snook for The Picture of Dorian Gray.
That is the correct pronunciation. It's Snook, everybody. It's Snook. 3, 2, 1. Sarah Snook. Yeah, won the Drama Desk.
It's a bit like Cola Scola, where it's like The Picture of Dorian Gray might not win best, like it might not be up for Best Play, but Sarah is a performance that you hear everybody mentioning.
I was going to say it's a bit like Stranger Things, because like they have the most lighting. This is the most performance by a leading actress in a play, because Sarah Snook plays all these characters and is joined by the formidable tech team and the stage management, but is the sole acting performance alongside herself often on that stage.
The only wild, like, to the right it could go is to Laura Donnelly.
They won the Drama Desk together.
And, like, everybody's been talking about the stair moment, which was new for Broadway.
Yeah.
But I've heard that a lot. But I don't think that's enough to overtake Sarah.
Not to overtake Sarah. People are really talking about, like, how, like, extraordinary. I've heard Broadway producers say, like, this has never been done before, this kind of performance.
And, you know, when we say about Future Life, of like this kind of style. It's a celebration of Australian theatre.
Yeah.
It's a celebration of Sarah being a name and being like a beloved performer.
Yeah.
But also there's a future life because Cynthia Erivo, the host, is about to do a very similar thing from the same producers.
Same theatre makers, same creatives.
In London
Yeah.
for Dracula.
Dracula, yes.
So this happening is then a good sign for the hosts of the show for their future.
A very good point. We've got a little over time on this one, but the other thing I would say is that Sarah and Laura were up against each other at the Oliviers in the same roles.
And Sarah won.
And Sarah won. Now, that brings us to our final two categories. Let me talk you through the nominees for Best Leading Actor in a Musical. This is one I've been thinking about a lot in the last 24 hours because we just saw...
one of them.
Yeah. So the nominees are Darren Criss for Maybe Happy Ending, Andrew Durand for Dead Outlaw, Tom Francis for Sunset Boulevard, Jonathan Groff for Just in Time, James Monroe Iglehart for A Wonderful World, and Jeremy Jordan for Floyd Collins. 4 of these Broadway performances we only saw for the first time this week.
Yes.
And we have seen all of them.
Yes.
This is really difficult to
Yes.
predict. I think it's going to come down to a 2-horse race, but I could be surprised by a 3rd horse
Yes.
that could just run
Yes.
past them all. But I think I am ready.
I'm ready to say one, and then I'm ready to explain why it
qualify
could be
it.
other people.
Yeah, okay. Here is who I think actually will win. Here it is. 3, 2, 1. Jonathan Groff. I think so too.
It's such a great performance.
And the only thing that makes me think it might not is that he won last year.
yeah, that's literally the
If
only
he
reason.
hadn't won last year, this would be guaranteed, I think.
But also, this performance is so the opposite of what he did last year.
Yeah,
Like-
and I think, not that he wasn't great in Merrily, he was great in Merrily, and I was very happy to see him win, but he was one part of a very strong trio,
Yeah.
and in this, he is the bright, shining star of Just in Time.
Here's a moment. He shows how much he can dance.
He's so charming.
He owns the room.
The whole theatre falls in love with him instantly. He is beloved of the community.
And he like does the heart, the drama, that it shows off him completely as a performer.
Yeah.
That if you the only reason I think
I think it's the best vehicle he's ever had on stage, perhaps.
The only reason I think you could ever be like, is he not going to win? Is only because he won last year. That's the only.
And if he
thing
doesn't, who's the other horse?
Tom Francis for The Walk.
I think it's Tom Francis.
The Walk is the other moment of the season. Mm-hmm. Then my really outside one is whether it could go to Darren.
I think Darren
Because
could be the
Darren's-
third horse, yeah.
When we're talking about like Cole appearing everywhere and doing the most for the community, the other person that's doing the same thing is Darren.
Yeah, I think Darren wins as a producer on Maybe Happy
Yeah.
Ending. I think Tom Francis could be the challenger here,
Yeah.
but I just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it goes to like exciting rising star newcomer versus beloved Broadway veteran.
Yeah, and I think everybody loves Just in Time, and Just in Time didn't get the Best Musical nomination, so there's not a backup for it.
Now, that brings us to the final category, the one that everyone has been talking about for months now, way in advance, before either of these shows even opened. This was the conversation. The conversation is still being had in a very strong way over the last week. Aaron James, who are the nominees for Best Leading Actress in a Musical?
Jasmine Amy Rogers for Boop, Megan Hilty for Death Becomes Her, Audra McDonald for Gypsy, Nicole Scherzinger for Sunset Boulevard, and Jennifer Samard for Death Becomes Her.
I'm not even going to put a timer on this one because I think we're going to need a little bit to talk about it. But on 3, who do you think is going to win the Tony? 1, 2, 3, Nicole
Audra McDonald.
Scherzinger. I think Scherzinger's still going to take it. I know everyone thinks Audra. Everyone now thinks it's swung Audra.
If you'd have said to me like 2 days ago, I'd have probably said Nicole. And I think, here's the thing. I think in my heart, I'm like, Nicole. I'm like, Nicole will win. And then when realizing how late, like today is the final day, as we're speaking right now, in 4 minutes.
Yeah, ballots have to be in the next 4
ballots
minutes.
close in 4 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
I wish I'd have known how much percentage had voted before the big moment. And I just think
You're talking about the Patti LuPone drama.
I just think after that people will have leant towards Audra.
As a statement of support.
And I just and also it's Mama Rose. I just like it's people haven't always won for Rose.
Bernadette did not.
But it's it's one of those star vehicles that's very hard to maneuver.
As is like
Around.
Mrs. Anna and the King and I, but as is Norma Desmond.
I mean, true.
And we've only seen it be eligible for the win once with Glenn Close, because when she returned to Broadway, wasn't eligible.
Nicole's never won. Nicole's never had a Tony.
And Nicole hasn't won everything else here because didn't win at the Drama Desks.
But she won the Drama League.
Was winning a lot in London. Audra and Jasmine won the Drama Desk. There is a conversation to be had about whether the Nicole versus Audra of it all allows Jasmine Amy Rogers to break through the noise. But this is the conversation people have been having for months now. Is it Audra or is it Nicole?
Nicole won the Drama League. Mm-hmm. I think everything for me would have been Nicole. And my only doubt is purely the fact that the Tony noms hadn't been balloted before.
I think of the demographic of Tony voter, I've heard so many people in the industry so enamoured with Nicole's performance in a way that I haven't heard people speak. People have a great respect for Audra's and the craft and the acting and the masterclass and like the way she's approached it. There's a great respect for Audra's performance from those who enjoy it, because both have been divisive. No, I would. Well,
I will look in Nicole. I think that's where I want to lean.
Both productions have been divisive. Yeah. Both performances have been divisive. There has been PR and politics at play for everyone involved here that has been to Nicole's detriment a few months ago, that has been to Audra's benefit very recently. But I think people have talked about Nicole's performance the way they talked about Sarah Snook's performance. I think there has been such like a... I think there's more weight there than people are realising, and I think it could still happen. And I think it's the best story. I think Audra getting another Tony, like, she's extraordinary. She's Audra. She's the talent of a generation on Broadway. She is our most decorated Broadway performer, and rightly so. She is astonishing. She will get more Tony nominations. She will get more Tonys throughout her career. That's the exciting thing. The Nicole storyline of her, returning to this industry that she always wanted to be in and having this moment.
There's also the thing that we were made aware of again recently, which is that if Nicole won the award, she would be the second ever AANHPI female winner in history.
With Lea Salonga being the only other one.
The only one.
Yeah.
And I think that when you think about that and what that win would mean for so many people, not just the story of Nicole, but also for generations to come.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, what that would mean for people in performances and what she would mean for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
That also leans towards her.
But those have been our thoughts on who is going to win at the Tonys this weekend, which shows will win. Predicting a lot of love, obviously, for maybe Happy Ending, for Oh Mary, but also for Stranger Things and Sunset Boulevard, and a couple of other very worthy creatives and performances in and amongst there as well. I feel better. I feel slightly more confident having vocalised it, actually. Having spoken it into existence, I feel happier about the choices that I've made, but we're all going to find out together. On Sunday. Stay tuned for more Tony Awards content from me over the weekend, including the videos I'm planning to put together are a guide to the Tony Awards this year to give you a little bit of context if you haven't been following the season, as well as however we end up watching the Tony Awards, we'll vlog that. We're not planning on attending the ceremony. If anyone has any leads on getting us into the dress rehearsal, we wouldn't say no to that. But we're just happy to be here in the same city where it's happening, and to have seen almost so all of this season's brilliant productions. And now it's time for us to hear what you think. So comment section down below, which are your predictions, particularly in those big categories, but feel free to share your predictions in every single category if you'd like to, or just those where you disagree with us. I'm curious. Let's do a random sample and feel like we're taking the temperature of the room. In the meantime, I hope everyone is looking forward to the Tonys. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube so you don't miss my Tonys coverage over the weekend and heading into next week. Thank you for joining me as always, Erin James, and I hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have a stagey day. Happy Tonys weekend.
Bye.
For 10 more seconds, I'm MickeyJoTheatre. Oh my god, hey. Thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!